Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bessa Pinchatti. I'm here from the National Military Family Association, and I'm joined by Rob Worley. He's the Director of Education Services for the VA, and I'm so excited to be here chatting with you about this. This is important. We're talking about the GI Bill, which for me personally is also important because I'm married to a veteran who has not used his GI Bill. So I hope you're watching, and I hope that you're going to listen and pay attention to a lot of what we're learning here today. But because we're going to be talking about education benefits, and specifically the Forever GI Bill, as we call it. I know there's a more formal name that you use, but I wanted to say before we get started and get into the questions, if you have questions, please make them right there on the Facebook page. We're going to try to answer some of those right now during the live, but anything that we aren't able to answer right now, we're going to get to in the next hour as much as we can, but also for the next 24 hours. So don't feel like we're ignoring your question. Absolutely want to get those answered. Let's kick this off by talking about what kind of training is covered by the GI Bill.
Thank you, Bessa. It's great to be with you. And if I could, congratulations to the National Military Family Association for so many years of serving our military families and doing so much for them. It's a privilege for me to be here and to talk about the Forever GI Bill, more formally known as the Harry W. Colmery Veterans Educational Act of 2017. Colmery was the author of the initial GI Bill back in 1944. We've come so far since then with respect to these benefits. Many people think that the GI Bill only applies to four-year institutions or maybe just bachelor's degrees or associate's degrees, but in fact, you can get graduate degrees using your benefits. There's really something for everyone in the GI Bill. There are non-college degree programs you can go to to earn certificates. You can go to technical schools, even OJT and apprenticeships. There are many employers that want to hire veterans, and they can bring them in an OJT or an apprenticeship and pay them up to, as they earn their up to the journeyman wage, and you'd be paid your housing allowance during that period of time. So there's really something for everyone in the GI Bill. Okay. And that was true, even before the Forever GI Bill.
Right, and that's actually my next question. So there's the GI Bill and there's the Forever GI Bill, the new stuff. Can we talk about the new stuff?
Absolutely. And I would say that the post 9/11 GI Bill is one of 6 benefits that we administer in the VA, and it is by far the largest. About 80 to 85% of the dollars and the trainees are using post 9/11 GI Bill. But we have other benefits that are targeted at reservists and other benefits targeted more at children and that kind of thing, dependents. So the new Forever GI Bill is really the single biggest set of enhancements to the post 9/11 GI Bill since the post 9/11 GI Bill was passed in 2009. And it covers a number of different sets of our beneficiaries, and as well as partners that we have in the state approving agencies, and just a whole host of very important improvements to the basic GI Bill.
And I know one of the improvements has to do with STEM and more money for STEM. Can you talk about that?
The STEM provision is something that will be effective a little bit later on in a couple of years. But yes, it's one of a couple of provisions that really target bringing more technology opportunities to our veterans to serve those needs in our country. The STEM is a scholarship. It's called a scholarship, but essentially it's an additional 9 months, potentially 9 months of benefits for those that are pursuing STEM disciplines. And it's a great thing because so many of those programs do take more than the normal traditional bachelor's degree. So that we will have more details out and later on about how exactly you apply for that, because there are some very specific qualification requirements for that. You have to be in a program for a certain amount of time and those types of things.
Okay, we'll definitely be looking for those. And I just want to take a minute to welcome anyone new who's joining us right now. Thanks for being here with us live on Facebook. I'm here with Rob Worley. He is the Director of Education Services for the VA, and I'm with the National Military Family Association. My name is Bessa, and we're talking about the Forever GI Bill. Lots of questions. I'm so glad that you're here to answer them because we get them all the time. So when a school closes and someone loses their GI Bill benefit, what happens? What can they do?
Well, this is one of the key provisions in the Forever GI Bill, the school closure part. And there's really two pieces to it. There's a retroactive piece because this piece of legislation was brought to bear because schools closed abruptly. And at the time, VA did not have any kind of legal authority to restore their entitlement or to keep paying housing to help them get into a new program. We were thrilled to see this as part of the Forever GI Bill law. And what we can do, if you were at a school that closed after January of 2015 up until August of 2017, then it's possible that you could have all of your entitlement restored if you weren't able to transfer any credits to another program. So the way you can get to that is on our website. We have links to the application. Fill that out and send it in. We've reached out to about 8,000 potential beneficiaries that are in this category of school closure. And so far we've received back about 800 applications, and we've restored about 5,000 or so months of entitlement. So this is really helping people who are victims through no fault of their own of a school closure get back into school.
Right. Okay. So let's talk spouses and kids, because it's not always the service member or the veteran using the GI Bill. What can families do to make the most of this benefit?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because there are several aspects both within the post 9/11 GI Bill called the Fry Scholarship that's available to spouses and children of those who were killed in action, as well as the Survivors and Dependents Educational Act, which also helps dependents of permanently disabled or those who have fallen. So there are a number of opportunities for spouses and children to use GI Bill benefits. The way you maximize whether it's spouse, dependent, or a veteran, I would say it starts with picking the right program. And we work very hard to put information out on our website and through Facebook and through every means possible to help people be informed consumers. There are a lot of pitfalls out there. You can get into a school that, even though it's GI Bill approved, it may not be the best fit for you and what you want to do for your future. So thinking about accreditation, articulation in terms of transferring credits, if that were necessary, and those types of things are important to consider when you're picking a program. And most importantly, it needs to be one that you think is going to meet your needs for the future. Bringing it down to a more technical level, not everybody knows that you're paid by the rate of pursuit of your academic program. If you take more than full-time, you're only going to be charged up to full-time of your entitlement. So if for those high achievers out there that want to take 15 hours instead of 12 hours, they're not charged that extra entitlement. So that's one way to maximize your benefits. Also, again, you pay housing based on your rate of pursuit and those kinds of things. So know the rules, I think, is the biggest thing. And it can be complicated, so know the rules. And
you're talking about housing. So if someone else is using the GI benefit, the spouse, for example, or a kid, do they also get that housing benefit, the BH, as well?
They do. If they're a recipient of transferred benefits from a military member, the spouse or the children will earn that, except if it's the spouse of an active duty member, because they can get housing for two members, I guess.
Okay.
So, but yes.
Another question that we get a lot at National Military Family Association is about in-state tuition for kids and spouses. Can you talk a little bit about how that works?
Sure. This started with the Choice Act a few years ago that was passed. There were education provisions there that targeted those who were recently discharged, the veteran. And it guarantees, all the states have agreed to this, and it guarantees that someone who's been discharged within the last 3 years will receive in-state tuition at public institutions. That also applies to those who've been transferred benefits of someone who has been recently discharged. And it also applies to children of active duty members who are using their transferred benefits. So it's a great thing to guarantee that in-state tuition for the spouses and children.
Which leads me to another question, which is that you can spread the benefit among dependents, so it doesn't just have to go to one person. So let's say that there are two dependents, like two military kids using the benefit. They're both getting in-state tuition, but they're only getting, part of the benefit. Once they have used it up, do they continue to get in-state tuition?
Well, I would say that I would expect the school to offer that, to continue to offer that, but in terms of the administration of the GI Bill and the law, the school wouldn't necessarily be obligated to that. But I would be surprising to me that if they didn't continue to offer the in-state tuition since they've been doing that. And if I could comment additionally on that, there are a couple of provisions in the law related to transfer of entitlement. If the military member transfers entitlement to a child or multiple children, but to a child who later dies after the member has exited the service, the Colmery Act provides an opportunity for that benefit to be transferred to another eligible dependent, another child or the spouse. So that was a great thing to see. And then there's also a provision if the member dies, had already transferred the benefit, the transferee child can give it to another eligible dependent, or they can trade off. So it kind of takes the transfer entitlement to another level.
Okay, no, that's really good to know. And there's so many individual situations, and I want to remind everyone that if you're putting your question on Facebook, I'm going to try to get to a couple of those right now, but it doesn't mean that we're not going to answer them if we haven't yet. It just may not be during this live segment. So for the next 24 hours, just look for those answers. I'm going to get to one specific question right now, which is when do the Forever GI Bill changes actually take place? If I'm going to school this spring or this fall, what do I need to do to make sure that I'm getting the benefit?
That's a great question, and the answer is there are many different dates of enactment. So there were about 13 of the 31 provisions in this law that were effective immediately upon the signature by the President in August of 2017. Things like the school closure piece, the forever piece where there's no expiration date, and there's a whole host of those. Then there's another set of about 18 of those provisions that are effective on 1 August of 2018 this year. And then there are several, 3 or 4 provisions, a handful of them that are effective, like some of the technology works a little bit later on. So the best thing to do is go to either Explore VA or to the GI Bill website and take a look because we have it all laid out when they're effective and what they are, and it's a great source of information to kind of know when they're coming into effect.
And I definitely think that's the most important thing because we want to answer as many questions as we can right now, but really it's important where do you go a month from now when you still have questions.
Absolutely.
What do you think is important for this audience in particular, the military family audience, to know that I haven't asked you yet?
Well, the thing I hate to hear most is that someone wasted their benefit somewhere, either by going to a school that didn't fit their needs or just made some bad choices along the way that could have been prevented, perhaps with a little more research, a little more understanding of the academic world and the benefits themselves. So it's a finite benefit. If you're served long enough, you're 36 months, and except for a school closure situation, you don't get it back. So take great care in doing the research, examining what you want to do, and find the best program and the best school for you to achieve your future economic goals.
That's definitely great advice. I hope that you all learned something during this. I certainly have, and I see that a lot of you still have questions, and again, we'll get those answered now in the next 24 hours. Thanks so much for joining us. Thank you for taking the time to help answer some of these questions, and have a great rest of your day.